What's up, Project Cars fans? David Land here, and I'm bringing you my first official video in Project Cars 2. Of course, I did the live stream earlier, but to do my first official video, I was thinking, what possible car track combination could I do that's kind of underrepresented and I'm very knowledgeable about? Well, I was going to do modern Indy cars at Indianapolis. That did not work out because the AI really need a patch to do modern Indy cars well on ovals. But there's another form of IndyCar racing in this game, and you're looking at it. The Indy Roadsters, the vintage Indy cars. The most famous of all the Indy Roadsters is the one you're looking at right here. The name of the car is Old Calhoun. The manufacturer is Watson. A.J. Watson, to be precise, one of the most famous race car builders of all time, particularly in the United States. This car was driven by Parnelli Jones and broke the 150 mile per hour qualifying barrier at Indianapolis in 1961, and then won the 1963 Indianapolis 500 in the hands of Jones, beating none other than Jim Clark and the Lotus team. Though there was controversy about that, but I'll let the comment section tell you more about that. For us, we're going to try to recreate the magic of Jones' 1963 victory with a full field of 31 AI Roadsters. No rear-engine cars in this race. We're going to keep it a little bit pure and a little bit old school. So let's see how Project Cars 2 handles vintage Indy racing. So here we are on the grid at Indianapolis. We are about to go racing with Watson Roadsters, a full grid, well, -1 because Slightly Mad Studios could not program in an extra AI car to do a full field of 33. But regardless, here we go. What an upgrade graphically from Indy 500 Evolution this is. We're going to find out about the gameplay, but we are racing at Indianapolis, shifting up into second gear, and hopefully won't have to shift ever again. Only 2 gears in a Watson Roadster. The acceleration gear and the go gear. Hopefully we will never leave the go gear again, but we are lifting off ever so gingerly into turn number 1 because the Project Cars 2 AI really struggle with turn 1 in general, but also when you're racing on the ovals as we get underneath a couple Roadsters. We're trying to make it a little bit of contact. We're not being very respectful, but we are racing. Oh, maybe we're not. We made a little bit of contact with, I think, the 84 car there. But now down the back straightaway for the first time. You just see them all fanning out down the back straightaway. And now we're going to do something that would absolutely blow a modern IndyCar driver's mind. We are going to brake into turn 3 at Indianapolis. Try to hit our apex point here. Drive out of the corner. Now, you do a lot of sliding as well. That's another thing you just don't do in a modern IndyCar. You have a 10-lap race here. We're not having any HUD or any of that, so it's pretty much driving by the seat of your pants as we come up to speed for the first time on the main straightaway. We got nothing behind us. Another thing, no mirrors in these cars. They've just designed to a completely different philosophy. These cars have a lot more in common with your 60s sprint car than a 60s F1 car, and there is a car just absolutely causing a huge pileup into turn 1. He was spinning across the grass, and there's just a massive pileup down there. I don't exactly know how that happened, but I guess we'll continue on. Yeah, the Project Cars 2 AI still not very good. They really got to improve these guys so that they can race without wrecking. But I think once we get the field spread out a little bit more, we're going to have some really good racing here. Well, that's fairly unrealistic because there was no race engineer, no two-way radios in 1963. And yet we've got fake Jeff yelling at us as we're going to go around the outside of the 28 car. And we're already up to P7. So you can hear the spotter as we go, or the race engineer as we get underneath. Or I shouldn't say race engineer. We got to get back in the day. We need to call them chief mechanics. Okay, so we got a crash car. I don't see one. Oh, there's just debris littering turn 1. Ironically, the fact that there's no full course yellows is actually accurate when you're racing the Roadsters, because there were no full course yellows back in the day. Well, I guess there were full course yellows, but they never packed the field up. At Indianapolis, the first time they ever packed the field up was 1979. So this is 13 years before they would pack the field up, or 16 years. We start to build up the speed a little bit. You can slide these cars in the corners, but you don't want to like drift them. You just got to get the tail out just a little bit. That's the fast way around. We're doing that just a little bit right now, but again, this is like my 5th lap in the Roadsters at Indianapolis. So we do have to kind of be careful. You may notice me sounding a little bit different than I usually am, because I'm on a Logitech G29 wheel. So there's a little bit more physicality to driving than generally what you would with a controller, as we just go through the debris field down in turn 1 and get the car sliding just a little bit through turn 1. Lose a little bit of time to that Roadster just ahead of us. I gotta tell you, I really wish my grandpa, who was a big fan of these cars, he always talked about, when we would talk about modern racing, he would say it wasn't the romance that was in these days, and I just wish he would have been able to live to see the modern Indy Roadsters, or the classic Indy Roadsters, realized in a modern racing game. 60 frames per second, the proper physics. I would have loved to have sat him down and gave him a taste of what it was like to drive, the cars of his heroes like A.J. Foyt and Maury Rose, even though Maury Rose was a little bit before A.J. Foyt's time. But you get what I'm talking about. It's just really neat how far modern gaming has come. As we dive it off into turn 1, really sent it that time. As we go through the debris field once again in turn 1, and we go around the outside of the 85 car. He's still there down on the inside, no spotter. He didn't have spotters, he didn't have mirrors. He had to brake. just a completely different way of driving cars back in these days. You probably just had a lap belt on your seat belt. You were driving with, hundreds of pounds of gasoline in your car. Again, this was 1963. This was a year before the big 1964 crash, which changed so very much, not only at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but in racing in general, safety-wise, and just awareness of the dangers of the sport. As we come through turn number 4, just now we're really starting to get the car to come into its own. I'm starting to feel it slide, but it's sliding fast. You know what I mean? It's like hitting the cushion at a dirt track. It's like you know what it's doing. You know where the limit is to the car as they try to go 4 wide into turn 1. That's ill-advised in Roadsters, I would have to say. Just FYI, the AI are running at 120 and 100% aggression. I find that is the best for oval racing. Otherwise, the AI are just too timid and too slow. As the engineer, or the chief mechanic, is quite pleased with how we're doing right now. And I can tell you, I'm like white-knuckling it. My left hand is like starting to get numb from driving the car so hard into the corners and just having to hold it steady. I will tell you, I've finally gotten the force feedback. Really where I like it is you hear, apparently there's a car, there's a car in the center of the track. Let's avoid him, please. Thank you. Hopefully it doesn't give me a penalty. It did not. But since we had to slow down so much, we did get up to second, but we're going to have to drive back up to the front because we lost a ton of time from that car being stuck in turn 4. And with only 2 gears, you lose a little bit of momentum. It's just, you can't get it back very easily. So we're going to try. We're going to try to build it up here. Obviously, we can take corners a little bit faster now that our overall top speed is a little bit slower. Ooh, so you just slide the car. Oh, I'm telling you, they may not have nailed the modern Indy cars. The jury's out on that one for me, but man, they nailed the Roadsters. They nailed them. So much fun to drive. It's challenging, but it should be. It's so fun. So just get the car sliding out the rear end. That's how you're supposed to drive them. Ironically, the car I'm driving, the 98 car, the Old Calhoun, or Old Calhoun, is the only licensed livery they got. So you're not going to be able to race against, you know, Jim Hurtubise or AJ Foyt or Roger Ward or Dick Rathman. You can only race against Parnelli Jones, but you know what? I decided I kind of want to take up the mantle of Parnelli Jones. If we're going to come from worst to first at Indianapolis, there's no better driver to do it with, I would say. As you hear, the chief mechanic, quite pleased with how we're driving at the moment. Oh, and you may notice as well, just to tie this into modern IndyCar racing, is this team was owned by J.C. Agajanian. And anytime you see a 98 IndyCar on track, and that includes Alexander Rossi, Dan Weldon, it's part of the Agajanian stable. So the Agajanians had, or still do have, a hand in ownership of Alexander Rossi's car. They did in Dan Weldon's car, which won the 2011 race. Pretty cool that history is still alive and well at Indianapolis. And by the way, you can drive the 98 car, the modern 98 car, in this game as well. As we slide the car in, we're trying to get it. Oh! I would say he took the air off my front wing, but that wouldn't be accurate. He just chopped me a little bit. And now we're going to get passed by the 56 car down to the inside. He's going to try to get around me. He's there. Brake a little bit. Brake kind of late. Oh, he's through. He was able to take a better line through turn 1 or turn 3. We got another roadster down the inside of us, so the pack is starting to form up again. Looks like the teammate of the car that's leading the race. Well, I had my opportunity to take the lead, and I may have blown it. So we're going to come off of turn 4, a really much better run than the 29 had. So now down the main straightaway behind the 56. There you go, the last lap. So we got to take some risks now. None of the Roadster Indy 500s actually came down to the last lap. There were a couple that almost did. 1961, AJ Foyt and Eddie Sachs. In 1960, Jim Rathman and Roger Ward. Both of those came down to tire wear, determining the race rather than a straight-up fight. But this one's going to be a straight-up fight. As you saw, I slid around the 56 car. I don't know how I did that while reeling off Indy 500 history. As we're going to get to the inside of the 28. Yellow flag. Does that mean I passed illegally? I hope not, but we have a car almost causing me to crash there. But we avoided that. Well, that was like 1967, where AJ Foyt drove through a crash on the last lap, coming to victory, which I believe we are about to do. I've got my hand raised up, being there's no webcam on, so you can't see that. But we're going to win at Indianapolis under the checkered flag. Oh, that was awesome. That was awesome. You know, I am starting to think maybe one of these days I'm going to do, maybe for Indy 500 month, maybe some other time, kind of want to do a full-length race in these Roadsters. 200 laps, 500 miles. You may also be wondering why I didn't choose, while we've got the cooldown lap activated, why I didn't choose to run with the turbine car or the Lotus 56. I think it was the Lotus 56. The Jim Clark car, the 1965 winner. The reason I didn't do that is because the turbine never raced against the Roadsters. It only ran against one front-engine car, and that was, you know, a Mallard, driven by Jim Hurtubise. So, you know, I wanted to keep it a little bit historically accurate. If the Lotus, if you could just race against the Lotus, that would be historically accurate. But yeah, I just wanted to Just wanted to do a Roadster only race as we pull off into the pits. How cool is that? We're going to shift down into first gear there as everybody's deciding to drive really fast into the pit lane because I guess no speed limit. Oh my god. Well, that is... Why is everybody driving like 150 miles an hour in the pit? I guess there was no speed limit back in the day, so I guess that makes sense. Where the heck's my pit lane? Or my pit box? As you can see how many Roadsters are wrecked after this one. I think this is my crew down here, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, I'm surprised I'm this far down the pit lane, but I guess I am. Alright, clutch in. And guide her back into the pits. Whew. So there you go. We won the race. How many cars actually finished? That would be fascinating to find out. 23. So we lost 10. And most of them we lost on the first lap of the race. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. That was fun. Let's take out a replay just because I want to see. I just want to see this with the proper cameras. So here we go, the 32 car starting grid coming down and taking the green. That is pretty cool. That's pretty cool to look at. Look at that. It didn't ever quite look like that when the Roadsters would start. They would start usually in a much tighter pack than that. But that looks pretty good as we go through turn 1. You can see all the cars coming off of turn 1 and into the short chute. You can see the ground I was making up. This is probably the most hairy thing I did the whole race as we bounced off. And I definitely crowded the 56 car, or the 85 car there for sure. And then I crowded his teammate. So that was pretty bad of me as we got Roadsters looking like they're all going to crash in the back of the field as we go down the back straightaway. You can just hear that Offenhauser straight 4. And this is where the crash happened, the big one going into turn 4. Gotta wait. Or no, it was into turn 1. In fact, let's see if we can see what happened here. Okay, so I accidentally hit the wrong button and I rewinded everything. So we're gonna take a look at the first corner crash on this first lap, on the second lap, and I believe it was the 30 car that got across the grass and spun. So let's see how that happened. Oh, there's contact with the 85, and around he goes. And then he forgot to lock the brakes down, and we're not actually going to see what happened. Oh, there it is. Oh, dear. Deity me. And then just everybody piled in behind. And there goes me. I made it through somehow. Let's take a look from the 3/4 view here. just so we can get a better view of this, because it was pretty spectacular. As the 30 car goes for a ride, and he broke the first rule of oval racing, is if you're crashing, lock the brakes down. He did not do that, and you can see the end result, which is a pileup of biblical proportions. Biblical proportions. Oh dear. So that was a Roadster racing in Project Cars 2. I have to say, I'm impressed. I thoroughly enjoyed this. Much more than I have driving the modern Indy cars at Indianapolis, at least before they patched the game. In the base Day 1 game, this is an incredible experience, and I implore you to do this, because it is so fun to experience the history of the sport like that. As you see a tire almost kill me there that I didn't even see. But yeah, look at that. Look at the slide. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful physics engine, and just a beautiful way of experience the history of the sport. So thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to hit the like button and let me know down in the comments section if you want more Project Cars 2. I certainly want to provide more to you because I am loving this game right now. There are definitely some things that need to be worked on, aka modern oval racing, but the classic oval racing is pretty good. So we will see you in the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, this has been David Land on YouTube. Roadsters are awesome.